ready. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Let me just bring my another screen here that I need, and I'm ready now. Thank you everyone for joining us for another Excel Toronto Meetup group session. Today, June the 11th, we are starting a little bit earlier, much earlier than usual, in fact, first thing in the morning, because that's the best way to have the privilege to have Chandeep with us. He is on the other side of the world, so if we want to learn from him, we need to adapt our schedule. That's how it goes. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And I'm going to just go through a couple of greetings and announcements, and then we will have Chandeep teaching us what he knows best about Power Query and M code. So everybody, we are using Teams. You can raise your hand if you need to ask a question, or you can type in the chat. We will monitor, and then Chandeep will let us know when the best way is, the best time is to get questions from us. And we are recording the session, as I mentioned, and the session will be posted, the recording will be posted on our YouTube channel in a couple of days, usually around the weekend, next weekend. And from there, you will have access to watching and following along, play, pause, and all that. Exercise files are also available through the Meetup page. If you go to the Meetup page and look for the discussions area, there's a post there that says, indicates the link where you can get all the previous session exercise files if you want to follow along. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Celia Alves. I am an Excel MVP. I've been working as an Excel consultant for was working as an Excel consultant for a couple of years, almost 10 years, and then recently I joined Sheetcast team, who happens to be our sponsor currently for the Meetup. I will talk about them in a little bit. So we've been running I've been running this Meetup group for 6 years now. Welcome everyone who is new here for the first time. We run sessions monthly. In fact, twice a month now. We are running two series, one called the Excel Essentials, dedicated to those of you who are starting your Excel journey, learning from the beginning. These are shorter sessions, more to the point, related to specific functionality of Excel. And then we have Excel Expanded series. This session belongs to that series where we have sessions a little bit longer, and we go deeper in exploring more advanced, let's call it like that, functionality, ways to expand Excel as well. Today we have Chandeep teaching us about M code and Power Query. Power Query happens to be one of the most requested topics of this group, and so I hope you really enjoyed today's session. And with me co-hosting, there's Aurora. Would you like to say hi, Aurora?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's great to see such a nice attendance. I am a consultant based in Toronto, and I will be your co-host today. Please preface your questions with Q, and we will answer them as we go along. Enjoy.
Thank you, Aurora. Thank you, Aurora. Yes, it's going to be fun. And next session will be about ChatGPT for Excel beginners with MVP Gaetan Murmo. He's been exploring AI a lot, and he's coming to teach us a couple of tricks with ChatGPT and AI in general, and how we can leverage that to help us learn better and faster Excel in this case. Not just Excel, but in particular Excel. So feel free to register. The session is already announced. And our sponsor of this meetup group is Sheetcast. Sheetcast is an add-in for Excel that allows us to create web applications out of your Excel workbooks. You can transform your Excel workbooks into something that works online as an online platform. We are actually delivering workshops, free workshops, for those of you who want to learn how to use that tool. There's the QR code there. Feel free to join us. There's a couple of dates available for you to choose. We have other sponsors. Solvent Excel is my consulting business. MrExcel.com, everyone knows about Mr. Excel and Bill Jelen. His online bookstore is offering the members 20% off discount of any book, PDF book. I will put the code in the chat, and you can also find that information on the Meetup page. Women in Excel, ran by Grania Duggan and a couple of other ladies, is a group on LinkedIn dedicated to people who like to women who like Excel, and a very nice community to belong to. So I mentioned 20% off of books. There's a QR code there. I'll be putting the code and the link on the chat soon after. And if you are looking for, sorry, this is opening. Okay, there we go. If you are looking for Excel help, the best way I recommend, if you are looking just for free help with a quick tip or something like that, the way I recommend is to use Excel forums where there's people there solving questions for fun and willing to help you. So mrexcel.com/board is my favorite Excel forum. I totally recommend you look into that if you are looking for help. And that's it. We have a couple of other resources. There's a newsletter, blog, YouTube channels. I will be sending this PDF, these slides as a PDF with the email after the session. You can look into this information later. And Chandeep just recently published his video, his book. And I'm a little bit dyslexic sometimes. I mix my words. His book a couple of months ago now, and he generously will be giving away 2 copies of his book, digital copies, along with some videos as bonus to two lucky people who submit their email address. This email address is going to be used only for the book giveaway, so don't worry about it. And I'm using the previous form. So as you see here, Celia testing was my entry tomorrow because we made a giveaway before. So we are going to sort any entries from 49 on. Boone has already submitted, so feel free to use the QR code. I'm going to put the link there as well. And after the session, at the end, we will be drawing 2 names. You need to be here at the end of the session. If you are not here, we will draw another name for whoever is still attending. Okay, so take your snapshot there. I'll put the link in a bit after I finish my slides, okay? And we have Chandeep today. I'm going to just read a little bit about Chandeep and to introduce him. Although I don't think he needs a lot of introduction. Everyone coming here today knows his fabulous work on YouTube and LinkedIn, great posts as well. We learn a lot from him every day. So it's a pleasure to have you here, Chandeep. Thank you for coming. Chandeep Chhabra is a seasoned BI professional, deeply proficient in Excel and Power BI. He runs the popular YouTube channel Goodly with over 100,000 subscribers, probably a lot more now. Known for producing high quality content and making complex topics simple to understand. He's also a frequent speaker at international Excel conferences like Global Excel Summit in London and Bulgaria Excel Days in Sofia. Over the past 10 years, more than 10 years, Chandeep's online courses have received rave reviews and thousands of students have benefited from his unique teaching style, clear explanations, and practical examples based on real-world business scenarios. He's also the founder and principal partner at Goodly Insights, a data analytics consulting firm specializing in Power BI and Excel-based solutions for companies around the world. Thank you again, Chandeep. The floor is yours now. Please fill in the gaps of anything I may have missed about you. And yeah, just show us what you have for us today.
Sure. Thank you, Celia, for the introduction. When you were saying things about me, it mostly applies to Chandeep, who wears a tie and a turban. But when I look at myself like this, I kind of laugh at the description that I have over there. But nevertheless,
It's the same.
yeah. Yeah, so cool. Thanks everybody for having me. Such a pleasure. Last time it was a disaster because anybody who was there the last time, it was clearly a disaster. And to actually, what happened was that I was in Dubai at that time, and I was somehow thinking that I'm in the Indian time zone, and we messed up the time zone. I messed up the time zone. So as a damage control, we gave out the books, but I never did the session. So this time I'm going to do the session, and we are going to give out the books. Alongside, we're also going to give out actually a bunch of bonus videos along with the book. Cool. First question, and the only question, how many of you have worked past the user interface in Power Query? Like you can write UI if you are the UI guy in the chat, and you can write M in case you know how to code with M inside of Power Query. I'm looking at the chat. I would like to know how many people are the UI people and how many people are the M folks. UI and an M, UI. Okay. Mix and match. A lot of people M. I like that. I like that. Okay. Okay, both UI, M, UI, M. Okay, cool. Mostly tweaking M generated by UI. Okay, cool. Mainly UI. Okay. All right. So the UI people are going to benefit a lot, and hopefully I will teach a trick or two to the people who already know M as well. So let's just start. I have seen one of the most fundamental things that people stumble with is that they don't understand how brackets or parentheses are decided when you're writing the M language. Sometimes there is a regular bracket, sometimes there's a curly bracket, sometimes there's a square bracket. How the heck do you decide where to put what? Well, actually, the directions help you, and let me present to you my first trick. Just getting to know what bracket to put depending upon the direction that you want to move in. Let me know if you can take a look at my screen. Cool. Can you take a look at my screen? Give me a yes in the chat. My screen okay? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Okay, I will stop in between for taking questions every 5, 10, 20 minutes. And then we can take some questions there if they're relevant to what I have done. And all the questions that I'm not covering during the session, I will take it towards in the end. Okay, let's start. Some data, a couple of columns inside of Power Query right here. Now, depending upon the direction that you want to move in, you choose the bracket. You can see that at the moment I'm working with a table. It has a table icon on the left as well. If I want to move to the right-hand side of the table, that means I would like to move like this, then typically I'm trying to pick up the column. That means either I would like to pick up the date column or the sales rep column or the customer column or the amount column, so on and so forth. If your movement direction is towards the right, then the brackets that you end up choosing are the square brackets. How do I do that? I'm going to make a new step right here by clicking on the FX icon. I do that, and I get the table reference. And the table reference is nothing but the previous step right here. Now, in this table, which is the previous step, if I want to move to the right, let's just say I want to pick up the customer, then the choice of the brackets is going to be the square brackets. Remember, movement right, choose the square bracket. So I say customer. I press enter. And since you have extracted one column off the table, you land up with the list. And list does not have any more columns than just a single column. It doesn't even have the header. That's the list. Now, the only option that you are left with is moving down if you would like to, this way. That's the only option left. When moving down, the choice of the brackets is going to be the curly brackets. Remember this. When moving down, the choice of the brackets is the curly brackets. So let's just say I want to pick up the third row right here. Now in Power Query, counting starts with 0. So this is the 0th item. This is the first item. And this is the second item. So I can say, hey, from this list that I have, I would like to go down in this direction, and I would like to pick up the second item. So I just do that. In the curly brackets, I write number 2, and I'll end up with a single value, which is nothing but the customer's name. Let's just start once again. I'm going to create an FX right here and reference it back to the source. Press enter, and I land back at the table once again. So I'm just referring back to the source right here. Now, when I was doing this exercise initially, my first order of choice was let's move right. And because I moved right, the choice of the brackets was the curly bracket. But this time I decide, hey, I don't want to go right. Perhaps I want to go down. So let's just say that I want to go down to the second row. Technically, this is the first row, the first row, and then the second row. So I would like to move down to the second row right here. And to move down, like I said, the choice of the bracket is going to be the curly bracket. So I do the curly bracket. And in the curly bracket, I write number 2. Now you're saying, hey, here is my table. And from the table, pick up the second row. When you are picking up the second row means the entire row. All of these values are going to be picked up. I press enter, and you land up with a record, right? Now, the thing is, in a record, you just have one row of data. So if I just maybe go to the previous step right here, if I just maybe click on the record right here, you can see that this is just one row of data. It has multiple columns, which for some reason are showing vertically. This is how they show up vertically, but these are technically columns of the table like this, and the values underneath of those columns, right? And there's no more than just the first row. So you can't really move down here. The only way that you now have to move is towards the right. So now in this record that I have extracted, which is the second record, think of this record as something like this. The column date right here, the sales rep, second column, the customer, third column, and underneath the columns, you're going to have values like I said. Now, the only direction that I can move is towards the right because there are no more than one row in this particular record. Now, my choice of bracket again becomes the square bracket because I'm moving towards the right. So if I want to pick up the profit, I can put in the square bracket and I can put in the profit, and therefore I get the profit value. So depending upon where do you want to move in the query, like where do you want to navigate, you decide the choice of the brackets. The easiest way to understand is that, hey, if you are going towards the right, your bracket choice is going to be the square bracket. If you're going down, then the choice of the bracket is going to be the curly bracket. This rule often, not often, but at times is broken. I'll show you how. So let's just say that in this particular query, I am going to, what do I do? Let's just say that I remove the duplicates. All right, I have single one. Okay. Now, what I have done is I've removed the duplicates from the sales rep column, and I am just landing up with my unique sales rep. And you will understand down, the choice is not going to be go down to the second row or the third row. So for example, if I want to go down to, let's say, the third row, this is my first row, my second row, my third row, and then my fourth row. So if I want to go down to James right here, then one way is that I write the curly bracket. And in the curly bracket, I write number 3 and I press enter and I'm down to James, which is right here. The other times I can say, hey, you know what? I don't know where James is. I don't know the position of James, but wherever James is, go down to that row. And in those conditions where you're trying to perform a lookup, the criteria slightly changes. So instead of writing something like this, like curly bracket and hard-coded number 3, like this, what you end up writing is a lookup operator. And the lookup operator says, go to this particular column, and in this particular column, search for the value James. And that's how you write a lookup operator. And how do you write that? I'm just going to maybe cancel out the hard-coded 3. So I'm going to say, hey, the name of the column is sales rep. So I will write in the square bracket, sales rep. And in the sales rep column, the value that I'm trying to find is James. So James comes in the quotation marks, and that's how you write it. Now, if you notice this, my initial choice of the bracket was still a curly bracket because my direction of going down, my choice of moving was downwards. But just because I wanted to perform a search, the search was nothing but the lookup, and only the lookup can be provided like this in the square bracket, right? And then press enter, you still land up with the value James. The only condition with the lookup is that there should be a single value. So a lot of people tend to get confused that, hey, how do I decide what brackets to use? This is a good way of deciding which brackets to use. So if you want to go right, choose a square bracket. You want to go down, the curly bracket. If you want to do a lookup, that's how you do a lookup. The initial brackets are going to be the curly brackets because your direction is still downwards. And then the actual lookup can be done like this in the square brackets. That's the only exception where the brackets kind of merge in between. Cool. Let's just move on to trick number 2. Also, I'm going to open up my notes on the side. All right. A lot of times I have seen that people choosing like remove other columns as a step. So for instance, if I want to keep the date column, I want to keep the customer column, I'm going to hold the control key on both of these columns, right click, and I'll say, hey, remove other columns. Where is it? Remove other columns. And that's what I get. So I get the date, I get the customer, and the rest of the columns are just gone. And this produces this particular code. So table.select columns. So here is my table, the source table, which was the previous step. And from this particular source table, I would like to keep the date column and the customer column. Cool. There is another way of writing this. I'm not saying that the technique that I'm going to teach you is any faster, but just another way of writing it. So I'm saying that, hey, I would like to refer to the previous table, which is the source. So source is nothing but the previous table, which contains all the columns. If I commit on this right now, I'm going to get all the columns. But from this particular table, I'm trying to pick up the date column and I'm trying to pick up the customer column. So how do I do that? If I write a single square bracket, and if I happen to write a date here, of course, I am going to get the first column right here, but this transforms the date column into a list like the way that we just did a while ago. But I don't want one column, I want 2 columns, and I want a table of that. So what I can do is I can use a projections technique. So I can maybe go ahead and start to create a square bracket at the start. In the square bracket, I can write the name of the first column. Well, technically, I'm not writing the name of the column. I'm referring the name of the column. So, and then the other column is going to be customer. And then I can close the bracket. I can press enter. And you see that I have again received a table. This is the table. And the table has 2 columns, date and customer. And this is just another way of writing which columns do you want. That's it. The thing is that why did I talk about this particular trick? Now, what you can do is, at times, if I just go on to my third trick, at times, you're going to go ahead. Let me just go ahead and copy the code from the previous step. So Control C, I'm just going to come right here, make a new step, and then paste that right here. And I'm just ended up with the 2 columns right here. Now, sometimes the names of the columns are going to change. So for example, I'm pulling out the customer column right here. But for some reason, if the name of the customer column changes in the previous step, this obviously is going to break. So if I go back to the previous step, and if I say, hey, this is not a customer anymore, this is a client column now, and I press enter, and I insert a step in between, I do get the renamed column step. But in the next step, I have referred to the customer column that was initially there. So if I go right here, I'm going to see that, oh, the customer has broken. So what you can do now is that in this particular technique, you can use a question mark. A question mark. Question mark simply means, if not found, give me a null. If not found, give me a null. So it doesn't break the query. It says that, hey, I'm trying to find two columns, date column and the customer column. But just in case any of the 2 columns are not found, don't break my query, just give me a null. That's it. Let's take a step further and use it in other creative ways. I'm going to go to my fourth trick right here. And in the fourth trick, let's just say I really like James. Is there a James here? I mean, I really like the James record in my table, to be more specific, okay? So I really like James. And James, I will give you $100 of commission. Some weird thing that I'm making up in the session. So I would like to calculate a new commission column. And if the data point is James, I want to give him $100. So it's a simple, straightforward if condition. So I go ahead and add columns tab and make a custom column. And in the custom column, I'm going to go ahead and write my condition. So I'm going to say this is my commission that I'm trying to calculate. And my commission is something like this. So if this particular column, which is my sales rep column, come on, is equals to James, if the value is James, then I want to give you $100, else I want to give you nothing, zero. I go and I click on OK. Wherever there's a James, James get $100, and the rest values are zero values. No complications whatsoever. I hope everybody understands. Now, I create a little anomaly in my table, and I say that, hey, the column name that I was trying to refer to, which was sales rep, now becomes salesperson. As I would expect, in the next step where I have hard-coded the name of the column, sales rep, obviously breaks, and in the next step, it obviously breaks and it throws me an error because obviously it did not find the sales rep column. It doesn't exist. It has been named as a salesperson now. What can we do? So I'm going to go and start to modify my code a bit. So I'm going to say something like this. Let me just format this real quick. Okay, that's my if condition. So for my query not to break, I could probably write something like this. Let me just remove the if for a quick second. And let me remove all of this for a quick second. If I still commit to it, I am still going to get the error because sales rep column doesn't exist. You're trying to fetch a column that doesn't exist. And like I told you, you could perhaps do the question mark. If it doesn't exist, it's going to give you the null. Of course, it gives you the null. The query doesn't break, it gives you the null. But obviously, since the sales rep column doesn't exist, you are going to get the null all the way through, everywhere. Now, what I can do is I can play around with more question marks, and I would like to say that, hey, in case all the values of the columns are null, then I would like to write a zero instead. So I can write 2 question marks, and then I can write a zero. Writing 2 question mark means that if this value, this could be any value, not necessarily ending with a question mark. This could be any value. If the result of this value is null, that is what the double question mark checks. Then I would want you to write a zero instead. As simple as that. So this question mark means make a check against if the value is null or not. That's what the double question mark means. If it's null, then it's this particular value. So the double question mark is like a shorthand to writing an if, hard-coded to only checking for nulls. And now you're going to have nulls like zeros all across. Now, obviously, it doesn't make sense because we were trying to give $100 to James. And James is now in a different column at the moment, which is a salesperson column. And unless you write exactly the name of the column right here, this query is not going to break. It's not going to work actually. But I was just trying to show you that in what different ways could you use perhaps the question mark. So 1 question mark means if not found, give me a null. 2 question mark means if null, then do this. And you can use in different permutation combinations possible where it actually fits in your data and you would want to work in that particular way or logic or order. Okay, I'm going to stop for a bit. Do you have any questions?
Yes, there is a question from Shamsuddin. Could you say if there is a trick to know when to use bracket or quotes when referring to column names?
I'm going to read the question once again. I didn't quite understand that.
So when you are referring to a column name, is there when should we use square brackets or when should we use double quotes for
okay,
with a,
cool.
with a
Yeah,
column
I'll
name
explain
in
you
the...
that. Cool. You're just trying to understand the style in which you refer to the column names. Let me just help you understand that. So let me just go back to the table that I was trying to work with. Maybe let's just work with this table, and I'm going to create a new step. I'm going to write the source once again to get my entire table and start working. Now, you're going to see that this particular column, sales rep, has a space within it. If I want to reference the sales rep column, I'm going to write the square bracket, and within the square bracket, I will feed this column in no special way, even if it has a space. However, if it has a special character, then you're going to reference it in a special way, which is the hash sign and the quotation marks and all of that. So for instance, at the moment, since the sales rep is like a regular column with just a space, it works fine. This works just fine. It gives you a list. If just in case you had a special character, so I just said sales rep dot. Now, in this case, this is not going to work. So if I just write square bracket sales rep dot, this is not going to work. Now, when you have such special characters, then you have to do the thing where you write the pound sign, you write the open quotes, and then the end quotes in the end, and then it kind of works. So that's the thing with referring the column names.
I think that's also, I'm not sure. Shamsuddin could confirm, but I wonder if the question is also about, for example, the step above renamed columns, where if you go one step above,
yeah,
Chandeep, you see that the column names are in between double quotes there. Maybe that's also related to the question. Why is that the column names now are in between double quotes, and in other situations you are using the... I'm not sure if that's what...
Cool. I will explain that. Do you want a detailed explanation or do you want like a time pass explanation? Because if I do it right now, I'm going to do a time pass explanation. But if you want a detailed explanation, you'll have to give me time till the end of the session. I'll explain it to you. Because there's a difference between hard coding a column and referencing a column. There's a difference between that. So I want to explain that. Just give me time till the end and I will pick up this question once again.
So sure. Thank you. And there was another question. So Shamsuddin confirmed that that was her question, in fact. Another question is, we can say that to use a question mark is a good practice in hard-coded solutions. I'm not sure if I understand the question. Do you? Jose.
Well, you
asking.
have to understand the behavior of the question mark. The question mark returns a null value. It prevents your query from breaking it completely, like prevents the refreshes from not happening. Your refreshes are going to go through because the column was found. So if you want to build queries where you're okay getting null values, and you want the refreshes to go through, you might as well put the question marks in there. But if you want the queries to break just because the column was not found, it just depends upon what kind of solution you're building. Like there's no standard answer to every single question. It just depends upon how dynamic do you want your queries to be? Do you want them to break or do you want them to pass through? If you want them to pass through, here's a trick.
Okay, thank you. Oyeyemi is asking, where you put that 0 after the double question mark, can we do something else instead of the 0? Can we do anything else?
Yes, you can. Absolutely, absolutely. So instead of 0, I can just say hi. So, and you will have hi all across.
Yeah.
Anything. I mean, you can have a literal formula here. You can have a list here. You can have you can also open up a list here. So if it's not found, then I just want to have a list of 3 numbers. So you're going to have a list of 3 numbers. So it's not like the complexity of this is only limited by your imagination. Whatever you want to choose to have in case the value is null, you can just have it right here.
Thank you. And one more question. Sasidaran is asking, sometimes when you add multiple columns, and if one of the columns has null, the result is null. Can this be avoided with the question mark? I am aware
Yes, it
this
can.
can be avoided with list sum.
Yes, 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 yes. It can be avoided with the question mark. Yes. Cool. Okay,
thank you.
Let's proceed. All right. A lot of times, if you are working within an environment where there's not a structured database, you're going to fetch the data either from a CSV or from an Excel file. And what I have seen people doing is that they use the native Power Queries option to get the data from a folder, like get data from a folder. I've seen a lot of people doing it. But I'm going to tell you a very nifty hack that is going to be performant on your queries. Take a look. So generally, the way to get the data from a folder is something like this. So if this is the desktop folder that I have, I'm going to copy this particular path, Control C on that. I'm going to go right here in the Home tab, and I'll say that I would like to have a new source. I would like to have other sources, and I would like to have the folder option, which doesn't seem here, file, and then folder right here. So in the folder option, then it asks me, hey, where is your path? I can stick that path right here. Maybe the desktop is my folder path. I click on open. I click on transform data, and I get inside of my Power Query. And if you take a look at the function that Power Query uses is Folder.Files. And this is the path that I stuck inside of the box that opened up. And it has given me all the possible files in that folder, everything inside of that, right? If you now go to the far right of this particular query, you're going to see that in the folder path, not only it has chosen, actually, this is not documents, this is desktop. One second, this is desktop. Okay, if you go on the far right, you're going to see that not only it has chosen to give me this path that I declared, but it has chosen to give me all the subsequent folder inside of that main folder as well. So anything which is here and the subfolders are all mentioned here and their respective files as well. However, unless you want to go to the subfolders, this is not what is intentional. Because if you are using a subfoldering kind of mechanism, then this is ideal because you want to take a look at every single subfolder as well. But if you specifically want to take a look at the files which are in here in this folder and not any of the subfolders at the bottom right here, then we need to change the formula. And the formula is not folder.files, but folder.contents. So if you just change and come like write folder.contents instead, you're going to see that as soon as I commit on this, nothing changes, but it would now stop reading anything that is not directly in this specific folder. No subfolders are read. So if you go right here, there is just one single folder. Now, if you have like multiple files here, the transformation is just going to be applied on only those files. And this has a high potential to speeden up your queries because it's not even taking a look at any of the subfolders. So a lot of people don't know about it. Folder.contents just is the same thing pretty much, but it only takes a look at the very folder that you mentioned inside of that. Now, this can be a parameter. Yes, it can. I think it does. Does it apply to SharePoint too? If you are able to connect to the SharePoint in the first step, then I think you will be able to use the folder.contents in the subsequent step to just pick up that particular folder. I think it does. I've not checked it, but I think it does. Cool. Let me go ahead and talk about my next trick. All right. I've seen a lot of people applying delimiters to split the column into multiple columns. So if I just go right here to this column 2, and I want to split the column C, sorry, I want to split this into 4 columns. So C is going to be one column, F is going to be another column, G is going to be another column, and H is going to be another column, then obviously you know how to do that. Split by delimiter. I right click and I say split the column by a delimiter, and the delimiter is going to be appearing at each occurrence of the delimiter. Comma is fine. Click on OK, and what you get is 4 columns. The only problem is that this particular solution is hard-coded. It hard codes the number of columns that you want to create. So right now you have 4 columns here, column 1, column 2, column 3, and column 4. It has created those 4 columns, and the names of the columns are hard coded. That means tomorrow, if I just go ahead and I make 5 columns here instead, so if I just write another value here, H, and then I can write I, and then I can click on OK. Now it has got 5 values. Unfortunately, it'll still split into 4 columns and not the 5th column, although it still exists. So what do I do? How do I solve this problem? Now, there are multiple ways of solving it, and I have personally done videos on it in the past as well on my channel, but I'm going to tell you a nifty way of solving this, which is like sweet, simple, elegant. Take a look. There happens to be a very interesting function, which is called Table.toList function. What is it? Let me just take a look at it. Yeah, sorry, Table.FromList function. And what the Table.FromList function does is it splits it automatically. Let me help you understand. Let's just take these 5 values. So I'm just going to copy these 5 values, C, F, G, H, and I, Control C on that. I'm going to make a new step, and I am going to delete everything, and I am going to just write the 5 values right here. And I will make sure that these 5 values are there in the quotation mark at the start and at the end. And these 5 values are mentioned right here, C, F, G, H, and I. Now, if you mentally imagine, the end result that I wanted was 1 column for C, another column for F, another column for G, another column for H, and another column for I. However, they should not be restricted. So tomorrow, if I increase it to J as well, there should be another column created automatically. That's what I wanted. I'm just trying to do this on one single value, and then we will scale it up to the entire query. So what do I do? Now, there happens to be a function called Table.FromList. So I can just go right here. I can say, hey, Table.FromList. Now, if you read through this function, Table.FromList, let me just delete this for a second. If you just read through this function, Table.FromList, it says, hey, I will only accept one input, which is a list. And unless you give me a list, I will not work. So the values that I deleted just a while ago, they were not a list. That means these values are text values. These are not a list. So let me form a list with that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead, put the equals to sign, start the curly bracket, end the curly bracket in the end, and I will put all of these values in the quotation mark and commit on this. Now note that, please note that I have not separated out the values. That means C, F, G, H, and I are still all combined in a single cell, just as they were when you were working in a single cell. They are still combined in a cell, and they are still combined in a cell. However, this list, these values are now in a container of a list. That's the only difference. And I have been able to do that using the curly brackets up on the top. Now I've been able to at least satisfy the condition for the function that I was trying to use, Table.FromList. So let's just do that once again. So Table.FromList, start the bracket and close the bracket and press enter. Did you just see what happened? I wrote all the values in Table.FromList, and it made a table of that. And the table has how many columns? Column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, and column 5. If I happen to delete a few values from here, now I'm looking at only a 3-columnar table, and I now have a 3-columnar table. So this is my first column, my second column, and the third column. That means that if I feed inside of this particular list, sorry, if I feed inside of this list any values, it creates a table from that with as many columns as I would need. Now, some people are going to ask me that, hey, how does it know that it has to break here and it has to break here? Well, this is the by default behavior of that. But tomorrow, if I have a space here, and then if I have my full name here, now I would want it to break here, which is a comma, a space, and then my name. So I still want 4 columns, but now the delimiters are not consistent. Let's just see what it'll do. So now the table.fromList, which by default uses the comma as a delimiter, I will provide a custom delimiter. If I put in and if I move to the second step, it says, what is your splitter? And I don't have one splitter or one delimiter. I have 2 delimiters. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to say, hey, split by multiple delimiters. Where is it? Split text by any delimiter. So that's the function, split text by any delimiter. And then I have 2 delimiters. So I can start the bracket. And it says that what all delimiters do you have? If you have more than 1 delimiters, please don't write them in an usual way. Please give it to me in the form of a list. All right, I can do that. I can just say, hey, you know what? I have 2 delimiters. I've already put in the brackets. I'm going to form a list and I'm going to write my 2 delimiters right there. So I'm going to say, hey, the first delimiter is a comma and the second delimiter is nothing but a space. Now I'm looking at 4 columns. Let's enter. There's a mistake here because there's a comma missing. So, and we have 4 columns. Now you can have as many custom delimiters as you would want. Just note that the table.fromList column, when used in isolation, has a standard delimiting procedure behavior, which is a comma. But if you use it in a more advanced scenario, you can just write as many custom delimiters as you would want. But hey, we haven't solved a problem yet. How do I create dynamic columns? Once I know the behavior on one single step or one single value, then all that I would want to do is that apply the behavior to this cell, apply the behavior to this cell, and apply the behavior to this cell. In the first cell, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 5-columnar table, a 2-columnar table, and a 3-columnar table. Let's just do that. I'm going to make a new step. And I'm going to say that, hey, now I could do that in a new column as well. Like I could do that here. I think let's just do that in a new column. It'll be much better to understand for the people who work with the user interface more. So let me just move that here. Let me just refer to the source tab. Press enter. Okay, let's just. So I'm going to go to the add columns tab and make a new custom column. Now in the custom column, I will start writing my code. And I'm going to say, come on. And I'm going to say table.fromList. Now table.fromList is going to accept only a list and nothing other than a list. And by the way, this is not a list. This is just a value of a column. So I'm going to say, hey, I will first form a list. So I will say, I want to use the values of column 2. So I'm going to write column 2 right here, but I get the column 2 usual. So whatever is here, I get it here, but I don't want it the same way. I want it in a list. So I'm going to go back to my code in the making, and I'm going to say that, hey, the column 2 values are not going to appear the way they are, but they are going to appear in the form of a list, and hence the curly brackets around that. So you're going to have still the same values, but then you will have a wrapper around that, and the wrapper is going to be nothing but the list. Let's just check, click on OK, and that's a list. Now this becomes a perfect candidate for the function to work. Let's just go back to the formula once again. So I'm going to say that, hey, my standard delimiting procedure is nothing but a comma. So my table, come on, table.fromList. I start the bracket. Do you have a list? Sure enough, I have a list. I close the bracket. The standard delimiting behavior is a comma. And that's it. I click on OK, and this forms a table. Now, if you peek in the table, this table dynamically has got 4 columns, 5 columns actually. This table dynamically has got 2 columns. This table dynamically has got 3 columns. And now, should you want, you can just click on expand and expand the table. Now, if I click on the expand button and I uncheck the name prefix and I click on OK, you can see that I get 5 columns here. But the problem is, once I clicked on the expand button and in the next step, the tables opened up, the columns, which is column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, and column 5, they were again hard-coded. You can see that these columns were again hard-coded. So now, if I go back to the source tab and if I add a value here, J, will I have 6 columns? Yes, but while expanding it, it'll still be restrained to 5 columns. So if I just go back right here, and if I say, hey, here, I don't want I, but I want to extend the value, and I want to have a J as well. I click on OK. I have a J as well. If I now take a look at this particular step, which is where I am using the Table.FromList function, I'm expecting to see 6 columns in here. Let's just take a look. I do get 6 columns, but the problem is as soon as I expand the table in the next step, since the names of the columns were hard-coded, I am not going to get the 6th column. So we're back at square one. So now what do we do? Now, for people who are working with the M language, you understand that this list can easily be replaced by a dynamic list. Sure, you can do that. But I want to teach you another method, like a premium method. Okay, take a look. All right. Please take a look at my query at the moment. I'm on my last trick, and we will use the trick to solve the problem that we just left behind. If you take a look at the current stage of the query, I have 2 simple columns. I have the name column, which is an Excel file name, and I have the data inside of that Excel file. So if I just maybe peek right here, I'm going to see some columns, like 4 columns: trip ID, name, value, transported month, and then some names right here, some columns right here. Same problem, exactly the same problem. Now you are very tempted to click on the expand button right here. But if you click on the expand button and you click on OK, again, the names of the columns are hard-coded. You see that? The thing is that what I can do is, if I want to have the table and if I want to have the name of the column, I can use a function called Table.Partitions. So I can show you. The output that I'm trying to build is something like this. I would like to have the name column, which is this particular column, and I would like to have the content column as well, which is where the column names are not hard-coded. So all the columns open up, and the name column also exists in the query. That's what I would like to have. So let's just start. Let's just see how can we do that. So Table.FromPartitions, Table.FromPartitions. I can start the bracket. Now the Table.FromPartitions function says that, can you give me a column name that you would like to include for every single table that you would like to expand? I'll say that once again. For every single table that you would like to expand, can you give me a name of the column that you would like to add along with that? So for all of these tables that I would like to expand, I would like to add a new column, and that is the file name column. You can also call it name, but I'm calling it a file name column, right? So the first column is, give me the name of the column that you would like to additionally create. So the column that I would like to additionally create is nothing but the file name column, file name. It then says, give me the partitions as a list. So the partitions mean that I would like to create the table as well as the name, the table and the name, the name and the table, so on and so forth. But all of these should be in the form of a list. That means these 2 items in the first list, and these 2 items in the second list, and these 2 items in the third list. That's what I'd like to do. So let's just do that first. I'm going to delete this particular step. I'm going to make a new step, and I'm going to say table.toRows, 2 rows, start the bracket and close the bracket. Now what the table.toRows function is going to do, it's going to start selecting the first row, take all of these values and make a list. then move to the second row, take all of these values and move that into a list. And so will it do for the third row as well. If I press enter, you're going to get three lists because there were 3 rows. In every single list, you're going to have the name and the table, the name and the table, and the name and the table. That's it. Now I can go ahead and use this. So I can just say, hey, table.partition, table.FromPartitions, and the table that I would like to work with, or the column name that I'd like to create, is the file name column, like I said. And the partitions are going to come with the function table.toRows that I just wrote, which got deleted. And we have the columns, but we also have the file name. This same technique we can go ahead and we can use in the previous query as well. So here, if you take a look, maybe I don't want to have column number 2. So I would like to have column 1 and I'd like to have the tables. So now what I can do is I can create those partitions based on the first list, the second list, and the third list. So I can say something like, hey, table.partitions, sorry, table.FromPartitions, table.FromPartitions, start the bracket. And I can say, hey, the table or the column that I want to create is, let's say, letter, doesn't matter. And the formula to convert the table into a list of values is table.toRows, start the bracket, close the bracket, and close the bracket in the end. Press enter. And you now have the expanded columns, which is 6 columns, by the way, 6 columns, and the letter as well. If you go back to the source step, and if you just add, let's say, go ahead and remove a bunch of columns. So let's just say, hey, I just want to have 2 columns now, not 6 columns. Click on OK. Now 2 columns, and 3 columns. That's what I'm looking at. If I go to the last step, you can see that we have just, where is it? Yeah. So here we have 3 columns, but the letter column came in between. So here we have 3 columns. Here we have 2 columns, and here we have 3 columns. It just came in between. That's the only thing. But it kind of works. All right. Those were the tricks. I think we are on top of the hour. If you have any questions, I am open to questions now.
Yeah, some people are here looking for the mind-blowing emoji. We couldn't find it, but some of them managed to find it. Thank you, Chandeep. Yeah, it was really impressive. I learned a couple of things and was reminded of a couple of others I have not been using lately. A lot of thank yous. Not a comment, not a question, but a comment. Awesome. Trevor says, great session. What else? Someone was asking before if you could go over number 5 again. So Doug is asking, I'm not sure what the question is about number 5. We have time. If you have time, we have time.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Okay, if you want, I'm not sure, Doug, if you are still around, would you like to specify exactly what about number 5? Is it number 5 example altogether or something about it? Not seeing Doug answering.
Could have been the SharePoint question, but I think I did answer that.
Yeah. Paulo is asking, when using the C:/desktop, etc. path, how do you reference your query saved as 5?
The way you can do that is that you make a new query, click on File. Now, technically, if you take a look at this particular query, if you take a look at the data type of the query, it's like a text. So what this query holds is a single text value. That's what it does. And if you take a look at the function, let's just take a look at this particular function. If you take a look at the Folder.Contents function or the Folder.Files function, the input of that has to be a text. Now, it doesn't matter whether you put the text in the inverted commas or you reference a query. So if I were to just go ahead and write 5 here, which is the name of the query, I think we'll have to do that way. 5. It actually gives you the same result. So.
Interesting. Yes. So that's the answer he was looking for. Paula says, how do I know the site, Gotnell is asking, how to format the M code? That is, where to start a new line?
It just pretty much works like DAX. So in DAX formulas, we have different arguments of the formula, and every argument then goes in a separate line. Similarly, you can follow that for Power Query as well. But in case you need help, I think Imke maybe has created a website called powerqueryformatter.com. You can just stick your code there, ask you to format, it'll just format you. Just like the way that we have DAX formatter, there's Power Query formatter as well. So that'll help you.
Thank you. Another question, what are the other applications of Table.Partitions? Another great question, another great session, by the way, Chandeep. Thank you.
Thank you. So Table.Partitions function by the virtue of it is you can use it to add okay, I gave you one application of that, but in my opinion, if you have multiple tables that you're trying to append and you would like to add one more column against that with any label whatsoever, that's where Table.Partitions can come in very handy.
And when the tables
I'm just going to give
vary,
you, I'm just going to give you a random, I'm just going to give you a random sophisticated case to explain to you what all could you possibly do with that. So let me just go ahead and take a look at my table partitions. Let's just see if that works or not. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can see it. At the moment, the case that we explored when we were working with Table.Partitions was that, hey, here is a table. And if I expand it, the names of the columns are hard-coded. But I still want to have the table and I want to have this along. Right now, this is a text. But imagine this could be anything. This could literally be anything. So for a quick second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and transform the name into something else. So I'm going to say, hey, I will use table.transform, table.transform columns. And I'm going to say that, hey, instead of having the name in the name column, I want to have a list like 1, 2, 3. I missed the bracket here. So you can see that we now have a list. So you have a table here and you have a list here. Now, this could be anything. It could be a function. It could be a list. It could literally be anything. It could be a custom function that is specific to this very table. It could be literally anything. And now, what happened? Consisting of a unique key and an associated table. I don't think it'll work at the moment with a list. It needs to be a unique key. I think this needs to be a text. Pardon my mistake here. So I think this needs to be a text. So the only use case I know at the moment that works is like getting the table along with a unique key, and it can just be associated with the table. But I'll try to explore more scenarios of that, perhaps come up with a video on this.
Thank you. More questions here.
Yeah, okay.
Alexander is asking, Thank you for the excellent training. Can you please advise if I can open a Power Query in an external code editor like Visual Studio Code? Basically, if I have several queries, how can I search in those? And if I want to highlight one field in all queries, how can I do this in Excel? Is there a way? Are you aware of that?
I've not worked with it, but I have seen somewhere on the web that somebody created a VS Code connector. And if you take a look at VS Code and the connectors available there might be a Power Query connector, which connects to your Excel file live. And if you just type in there, it can just affect your Power Query. I've seen it. I've not worked with it, but you'll have to search for a bit. So I don't have a definitive answer to that.
Yeah, I do. So there is not a way for us in Power Query Editor to find and replace. Is there? Is it in Excel?
I think, yeah. They in the what do you call it? In the advanced editor, there is. So
there is.
what was
I
that?
wasn't
Yeah,
sure.
I think there is. So hang on a second. F5, 6. Okay, 1 second. I just forgot the shortcut, but there is. So I'll have to actually go into my own archives and take a look at the shortcut. But there is like one of these function keys on the top, and that lets you, or shift function 12, shift function. I don't know which one is that. Let me just try a few keys here. Okay, so this one was that. Okay, this one. Take a look. I don't know if this is what you're asking or not. So at the moment, if I have the tables here, I can just select that, and I can use the shift function I can just maybe tap right here, and I can just use the shift function F7 to jump to the next instance where the same thing is written. See that?
Okay. Shift F7?
Yeah. Shift F7, yeah.
Okay.
I still remember there was a trick to select it as well, all the instances, but I'm just forgetting it. What was the shortcut for that?
That's good to know. That helps.
Yeah.
Okay. Paul Pranam says, I think in the advanced editor, OVS code shortcuts work for replacing text in bulk. Okay. I think we have covered most of the questions.
Cool. So I'm going to send you the file. Yeah,
yes.
I will send Celia the file, and then Celia can just share it with all of you, I believe. Howsoever.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm going to put up the code one last time for people to submit their email if they want to try their luck with getting a book. Let me just check a second here. Let me make sure that I'm not sharing the names before. Okay, the names are in another screen. Okay. Share.
Okay. After the results of this are over, I'm going to share the book for anybody who wants to buy it. Still get the book.
Yes,
but
and I have the link here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So a couple of seconds more. If you haven't submitted your name to try to get a copy, one of the two copies. We have 92 entries, but starting from entry 49. So from 49 to 93 now. There's also the link. If you don't have the QR codes, you cannot use the QR code on screen. The link is in the chat.
Celia, for some reason, the buy book QR code is not working.
Oh, it's not working? Okay, so I'm sorry for that. I did not try today. I'm going to put it in the chat as well. Or
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I just sent it to you on WhatsApp in case you want it for later.
Yeah. Is it? Okay. Let me see if I can.
Should I put it up in the chat here?
Yes, you can, please.
Okay.
I wonder why that broke. So if you can, if you want to buy it, the link is also there. Okay, so I think we can stop now and we can do the draw. We have it keeps growing. So it goes up to 101 now. So those are the two names who won the book the last time.
Cosnell, congratulations. Jeff, congratulations.
Yes. So if you want to pick two numbers now between, I'm going to delete this, between 49 and 101. Chandeep.
I'm going to say a number. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Your voice was breaking.
Any two numbers between 49, including 49, and 101.
100.
So Alexander Minka. Why is that Copilot thing always on the way? Okay. Alexander, congratulations. Are you still here? It's he or she should, because he's just submitted the answer. Now we are up to 102. Another number.
I'm going to go with 60.
60. We have Ed Marceline. Okay, do we have Ed Marceline here as well? And I didn't check the chat for Alexander yet. Are you here, both of you? Just say something in the chat. I don't see. Otherwise, we will pick someone else's names. I don't see anything.
Yeah, Ed is here.
Ed is here. Congratulations, Ed. Alexander. I'm not sure if I'm saying the name correct, but it's written there. I'm going to give it a 1. Alexander. Flight, the plane is going away. If you don't get into the flight, you're left behind. Alexander 2. He may not be listening, Stephanie says. Yes, Alexander, you're distracted. Okay, Alexander 3. No, Alexander? So let's choose another name, another number.
Was that for me? I'll go with I don't know, like 70, maybe.
70. That's Mahmoud. No. Are you here, Mahmoud? Oh, Alexander was there. I cannot hear, sorry. So I'll give the book to Alexander then. Thank you. And thank you, Chandeep, so much for the excellent session. You always go above and beyond we are expecting. So thank you so much. Always learn a lot. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today and being here with us live. The video will be up soon. Chandeep will be sharing the file. Thank you for that, Chandeep. So there's a lot to this. It's one of those sessions that we need to pause and practice and go back and think about it and try to learn what we are just seeing, just watching at the moment. A lot of thank yous there. Brania, Gosnell, Paula, everyone is saying thank you, Stephanie. Can we get a hard copy of the book in Canada? Stephanie is asking.
Yeah, I think they started selling it in Canada as well. So
yeah.
Just check on Amazon, your local Amazon. I think the book is out there. So
yes,
you should start to see the book there.
Stephanie, I looked the other day, searched on Indigo, which is a book chain here in Canada. and it was available on their list, not available in stores, but if you order through them, it should also be available. I didn't compare prices with Amazon, but it's available worldwide. Thank you, everyone. And I think that's it. It was a great way to start the day for us, Chandeep, and for you,
Absolutely.
it's evening. I hope you
Yes.
enjoyed being with us. Thank you again, Chandeep. Thank you, everyone. See you
Thanks a lot,
soon.
guys, for having
Keep
me. I'm going to leave now.
Yes, keep an eye out for the email that is going out soon. Thank you. I'm ending the
I know.
meeting now. Bye-bye.